Hey guys, Sean Hammond with PremierGuitar.com. We're at Winter NAMM 2015 talking to Andy Paredes from Line 6. And you guys have a bunch of new cool things here. This guitar, man, that sounded really acoustic. Like, I was really surprised I didn't get to hear it before we started rolling. This is a new version of the Variax. It's like pretty mind-bogglingly affordable.
Absolutely. So what this is Yamaha acquired Line 6 last year at last year's NAMM. So this is our first product together that we've done with Yamaha. So basically what it is it's a Yamaha designed guitar with Line 6 Variax modeling built right into it. So when you look at the guitar, it looks very Yamaha-esque, but it is very traditional in design. And you see the 6-screw bridge. It's a little bit narrower nut than we've had on Variaxes in the past. Some cool graph tech stuff going on. But once you kick in the modeling just by hitting this button, then all of a sudden it just kicks over to the Line 6 technology. And what's happening is instead of it coming from the magnetic pickups here, it's going to come from the piezo pickups. That feeds the computer, and then I can go out either 1/4 inch or I can use our Variax, the Variax digital interface cable to go to any sort of pod modeler.
Okay, so for people who aren't quite as familiar as others with the Variax thing, do you want to run through the controls there?
Sure. So starting off, once I kick on the model, like right now, it's just a regular, Stratty style. But then once I turn on the model, I'm going to get 10 categories of instruments. So for example, right now I'm in the resonator category. So now I'm going to get things like a dobro, sitar, or banjo. So just so we can hear a couple of them. So there's my resonator. Let's say I want a sitar, right? So if I want a sitar, I don't have to do anything except change from my first position to my second position. And now I've got a sitar. Or if I want a banjo, I just go up to the 4th position. So
when you choose, like, it's sort of like this is a bank, and this is switching through different presets, 5 presets in that bank.
Exactly. So now let's say you had mentioned the acoustic stuff before. So all I have to do is switch this over to acoustic, and now I have 5 different acoustic guitars. So here's like my standard dreadnought. But let's say I want a 12-string. All I have to do is move up 1 position. But then I'm also going to get the ability to do altered tunings, which is really cool, and it's not doing anything strange like physically changing, because it's all going through the software. And I actually have 10 different banks or 10 different choices right off the face of the guitar. So right now I'm in standard tuning, but I can just hit this. Now I'm in drop D. But let's say I want something like Dadgad. That's a popular tuning, but it's hard to just quickly get into Dadgad. So all I do is I just switch this down to Dadgad, and there I can get my Cashmere on or whatever I need to do. But it also has Open D, Open G, and you can even program other tunings as well, which are pretty easy to do right from the face of the guitar. But it really gives you limitless options. So for people who are really creative, like playing in the studio, or if they're playing live and they need to take an arsenal of instruments just for 1 or 2 songs, you don't have to do that anymore. You can actually get that in 1 instrument, and you're going to get it at a price now that pretty much everyone can afford.
Okay, so to recap, you get volume, tone, 5-way for the magnetics. When you have the Variax engaged, you choose a family of instruments loosely related, and then tuning.
Absolutely, and we're going to get reso, acoustic. We're going to get all of our big jazz boxes. We're going to get semi-hollows, all of our solid bodies from Gibson, Fender, the cool Firebirds, the Gretches, Rickenbach. So we're getting the full gamut of a guitar collection.
Now, for guys who have been into Variax for a long time now, is what's in this new guitar the same as what was in the last batch of Variaxes, or has the software and maybe internal hardware or whatever been modified at all for this guitar?
No, it's the exact same presets, and that's what's great. So for example, if you've had a James Tyler Variax in the past and you've got your Pod HD500 and you've got all your presets, you can plug one of these in and it will be exactly the same. So technically the software number, I believe, is a little bit higher, but there's been no actual changes to any of that.
Okay, and it's good that you mentioned James Tyler because some people out there are probably like, oh no, what's going to happen to the James Tyler ones, because they're really nice, but they're still there, right?
Absolutely. So the James Tyler Variax right now, we're planning to keep everything the way it is. It's just this is a new entry at a lower price point.
Will there be humbucker models forthcoming, do you think, or am I asking to tip your hand?
We're waiting to see. Yeah, we don't have it. So right now, if somebody wants a traditional double cut like this with a humbucker, you definitely want to go with the James Tyler 69, for example, or our 89 or our 59. Those all have humbuckers in the bridge. But if you want a 3 single coil, you could either do this, or if you want, kind of step up, then you could look at the James Tyler 69S.
Let's talk about this thing down here on the floor, the Firehawk Fx.
Sure.
Let's deal with that.
So Firehawk Fx, the big deal here is we've really been listening to our customers, and one of the biggest requests was that people wanted an G500 style modeler, but they wanted to be able to control it with their iOS device. So that was one huge request. Another one was the fact that people really like the colored lights off of our M series, like the M5, M9, and M13, where everything, like green is delay, blue is modulation, and so on. And people wanted all of that stuff in one unit. So that's what we did. That's basically what Firehawk is. So it's HD, Pod HD500 build quality. It's bent sheet metal. It's really rugged. It does have the colored lights, to show you what
to keep track of things a little bit.
Exactly, especially on a dark stage, it's hard to do. But you can completely control it from an iOS device. So hold on a second. And this might be a little interesting. So
do we want to be good here? Can you see that okay?
Is that good?
All right.
Okay.
All right, so Andy, you have your iPad hooked up here. Is this the same software that's working with Amplify, or is it a new app?
It's really close, actually. That's great that you mentioned that, because it looks very similar to the Amplify app. But what's happening is we actually get all of the HD models from Pod HD500 are now available, in addition to all of the models that we had in Amplify. So, for example, let's say I want to, I don't know, you pick an amp. What do you want to see?
I'll probably choose something really esoteric, like a Supro or something. You got that?
Oh, I do. So we go.
Damn, I couldn't stump you.
All right, let's go to American, like that guy right there.
Sweet.
So now we can double tap it, and then so now when you look at that, you see all of your amp controls are just on these really cool sliders. It's kind of like next gen type stuff here. But, and that's a traditional pod farm era amp model. But if you want to use an HD amp model, when you take a look, taking a look at our American amps, you see right here we've got all these HDs. So for example, let's take a look at a Tweed Bassman. So now you're going to see all those same controls, but because it's an HD amp model, I also have master volume and then all of these controls here. So I get all those additional controls from the HD amp models, just like we had with Pod HD.
So does the HD just mean that the model originally came from an HD product, or does it stand for high def and it's like a newer, more robust sampling method or whatever than the other ones? Like that Supro I chose as like sort of a legacy model or something that wasn't made, like you have better technology available now than when you made that.
Absolutely, yeah. So
I got it right.
Yeah. So our amp model set that we initially developed for Pod Farm is like kind of that classic pod, the Pod Farm amp modeling. That's everything that you're talking about with the Supro, for example. But about 4 years ago, we actually completely redesigned how we do amp modeling. And HD amp models have about 10 times the data that a traditional amp model that we did has. So that's why we can't fit 500 of them into a unit. So that's why when Pod HD was released, it had 16 amp models, because there's a lot more going on in those HD amp models. But now with, as we move forward technology-wise, we're able to fit the traditional classic Pod Farm model set along with the HD amp models all in one unit. So this is the first time we've ever actually been able to do that. Cool. But a couple other really cool things that we can do off of here that we can't do, for example, like you said, on Amplify, is now I can actually control my Variax. So I can actually go in here and I can, within the Firehawk, I can actually go in and tell the Variax what to do. So if I'm connected by the Variax digital interface cable, I can say what it should be controlled by. I can pick different models, so I can just take my finger and swipe it around and find, so like Like right now, it's just, going to the sitar, for example. But I can also pick my pickups, and then I can also program any of my alter tuning. So if I want something simple like a drop D, I can just take this down to drop D, and then I can just save it as part of the preset.
So you can dial in something that would change your amp sound, your effects sound, and your guitar, your Variax settings, just with one parameter selection. Not parameter, one memory.
One slot here. Yep. Yeah, we're done. And then another cool thing that a lot of people wanted from the Pod HD stuff as well, they wanted to keep that here, was the ability to assign different foot switches. So when you take a look here in the app, for example, like we still have all of our stomp, mods, delays, all that stuff stayed the same. But what I can do now is I can assign it to any one of these 5 foot switches. So let's say I wanted to take that stomp and I want to turn that on, and then I want that to be on foot switch 2. I just go over here and you hit foot switch 2, and now it assigns that. And if you take a look on the hardware, like it's lit up. So you can go in and make it your own pedal board instead of being stuck with everything being in the same order all the time.
Wow. Can you change what color is associated with what effect type?
No, that's
chorus like has to be blue.
Exactly. Yeah. So the way we've always done that is and if you remember back to DL4 and MM4, DL4 greens are for us. Yeah. Greens are always delay. Modulation's blue. Filters are purple. Reverbs are orange, and overdrives are yellows. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it makes it really easy for us when we're designing a pedal, because we just know what color it's going to have to be. But so we can assign that stuff. Another really cool thing that's new on Firehawk that we didn't have on Amplify is an external effects loop. So you've got a classic, crazy chorus pedal that you just can't live without, and you need to have that as part of your rig. We can actually put it in the effect loop here. And we're going to go in here because everyone knows that effects loops are supposed to be teal, right? So we can go in. I
almost went over my head, man.
We can go in here and we can move our send and return level. So if you want to make it hotter or cooler, on your inputs and outputs, you can do that, as well as control your mix. And then you can assign it to something like FS5, for example. That's where I want that external effect to go.
And I assume you can just put it wherever you want in the signal chain too. Absolutely. Between other effects in here.
Right. So if I wanted to go between my stomp and my mod, I would just grab this, and I can just move it. Another really cool addition here that a lot of people have said, our reverbs tend to be something that people really like the HD versions of. Mm-hmm. So we actually added the older pod farm style reverbs. So for example, if I hit reverb here, you'll see the traditional pod farm reverbs are all down here, but right at the top we put in all the HD reverbs as well. So if someone really likes a new style reverb, the Octo Reverb tends to be really fun because you can hit a chord and then you hear the decay, but it's an octave higher or 2 octaves higher, so that's a real popular one. So that's pretty much it for the app as far as what's different, because I know you guys have done some great videos on what Amplify is. So I just wanted to highlight kind of the new stuff.
Oh, that's really cool.
In addition, yeah.
Is there, in terms of tones, is there anything different about it, or is this product more about just like corralling everything you guys have ever done and putting it in one thing that you can control really easily there?
That really was it, because it was the most common customer request. But one thing that's really cool too, that you remember from Amplify, you were able to like play along. You could play a song via Bluetooth and you could match a tone. So you were able to do that same thing, but really for performers. I've never heard a preset that I thought was great out of the box. I always want to tweak, and I think most pro players like that. So we're actually designing a new series of presets, so you can get all of the Amplify stuff. But for this, it's really more about templates. We'll make sure that for the classics, Hendrix, Vaughn, the Edge, we'll make sure that everything's in the right place for you. Mm-hmm. But it's up to the people, the players themselves to program it, because everyone needs to do that anyway. When you get to this level of performance.
Right. Okay, Andy. So the last thing you're going to show us is this new Relay G70 wireless unit.
Yeah, so this is the 5th generation of a digital wireless that Line 6 has created, and one of the biggest things that customers were asking for was the ability to do routing through their wireless. So that's actually what we've done here. So you'll notice that this guy has got a colored ring around it, and when you buy the transmitter, it actually is going to come with colored rings as well. So if you take a look at this guy, so it comes with 6 different colors, so you can have 5, 6 different transmitters. Each one has their own color assignment, so that way you know what guitar is going where. So that's a pretty cool thing.
About this ring transmits information here so that a reflex has the same colored ring.
Oh, you have to program it.
Yeah, program.
Okay. Which I'll show you how to do. It's pretty straightforward. So you'll notice here right now it says that it's got A and C. So what that means is wirelessly, wirelessly the transmission's coming in, and then I have 3 outputs that I can route this to. So you take a look at this side here, I've got output A and output B. So this could be amp A, amp B, or whatever systems you want to route through. But then another thing that's really cool, if we turn, oh yeah, right, it actually has its own tuner output as well. So I can run it to an external tuner, like if you're running like your high-end strobe tuner. But if I hold this down for 2 seconds, it has an internal tuner as well, which is pretty cool. But then if you look at the back, you have a C output. So if you're playing acoustic guitar, for example, and you want to go right to a full range speaker, go out to front of house. So I can route any combination of A, B, or C, 1 or 2 or all, or just turn it off. It can do the routing. We just have to program it. So, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
So now looking at, let's say that's guitar 1. So maybe my next guitar, I want to be totally different. I have got maybe a different system that I want to route that to. Maybe it's the classic high gain amp, clean amp, and I want to treat this like my A/B switcher. So notice I hit this button, and now it turns blue because that's my second transmitter. And you'll notice right now it's only going to the B output. So I can actually program up to 32 scenes. So I don't know many people that are going to route that much, but it's capable of being done. I mean, check it out, man. It's a heavyweight thing. So it can be for all the classic pedal guys. It's barrel connection, 9-volt center negative, so you can use whatever power supply system that you're normally used to using. One thing I would tell people to avoid is like the stringer systems, because you can get some weird ground loop issues. So as long as it's its own grounded barrel connection, you should be fine.
A little jack for like firmware upgrades and stuff like that.
Exactly, that's what it's for. But that's actually the power supply it comes with is a 5-volt 1 amp power supply, and that way, because it's universal, like worldwide, and it comes with worldwide jack connectors. So whether you're in China or Europe or the U.S., you're going to always be able to get a power supply.
That's super cool. How much are these going for?
These are going to be street price in the U.S. at $499. Yeah, so $500. And then the other thing, just to show you here on the transmitter, one of the biggest requests that we had after we released Relay was, this is awesome technology, but can you just give me a regular guitar cable? So a lot of people, just weren't into, the TA4s or the little 3.5 millimeters. So that's actually what we did, was we give everybody just a regular 1/4-inch jack. So any cable that anybody wants to solder at home will work. But it actually does come with a twist sleeve locking. So if you do want it to lock, you can actually twist that on, and so that's kind of the touring guitar player's best friend. But I mean, this guy is also fairly heavy duty. One of the things we had a lot of requests for was to change the batteries. How you access the batteries before was on a door that would slide back and forth. Sometimes when people were performing, like they would accidentally open it, if they're jumping off a riser or something. So what we did is you actually have to hold both of these guys on each side, and then it will slide to open. And really the only thing you need to access here is either up or down for which of the 16 channels you want to be on. But then it also has a sleep mode, which is really cool, because that way if you set it down, it has an accelerometer, kind of like a smartphone. So if it's still for a long time, it just goes to sleep. Yeah. And so that just tells you if you're playing on stage and it goes on sleep, it means you need to move around more when you're playing. And then there's another sliding mechanism, and that's how you actually would get to the battery. So if you're terrible enough to accidentally get it here, it's really hard to get it here. You have to push it in again, and that's it. There's pretty straightforward. Otherwise, I mean, we make it for rock and roll, and we're not really smart when we play rock and roll sometimes. So it's just really easy to use and kind of foolproof.
It's pretty ingenious.
All right, so this is the G75, which is the exact same technology as the G70, but it's more of an amp top format for people who just don't have a pedal board, and the G70 format really isn't the best option for them. So they can just place this right on top of their amp. So it's going to have all of the same ins and outs and routing capabilities, and when you turn it around, you'll see all the same stuff. It's just we actually made it with a very heat-resistant bottom. So if you're putting it on a super high-gain tube amp, it's not going to melt the circuit board on you.
How much is that one?
Same thing, $499.
All right, so is information about all this stuff online yet?
Absolutely, yeah. We just put everything up online, when NAMM opens, so it'll all be available for you guys to check out.
So lion6.com, right?
Correct.
Cool.
And you are PremierGuitar.com.
I'm Sean Hammond for PremierGuitar.com. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, man.